I tried to set her leg. She grabbed my shirt and whispered, "Don't let go." The battlefield was eerily silent after the last explosion. Smoke curled up from the shattered hulls of alien and human ships alike, and a metallic scent of blood hung heavy in the air. My ears rang from the blast that had thrown me against the wreckage minutes ago. That's when I heard it. A faint, trembling voice. "Help me." I turned toward the sound and froze. An alien woman lay half buried under the remains of a transport vehicle, her armor cracked and smoking. Her skin was pale blue, patterned with faint silver markings that glowed weakly with every labored breath. Her leg was twisted at an unnatural angle, bone piercing through flesh. Drakari warrior, I realized, enemy. I should have left her there. That's what every soldier on my side would have done. She was one of them, but war had taken too much from me already. I couldn't watch another person die, no matter what side they were on. I dropped my weapon and ran to her. "Stay with me," I said, kneeling beside her. Her golden eyes flicked toward me in disbelief. "Human?" "Yeah," I muttered. "Lucky you." Her breathing was shallow, pain etched into every feature. The wound was bad. Setting the leg was the only way to stop her from bleeding out, but I had nothing to numb the pain. "This is going to hurt," I warned. She gave a weak, bitter laugh. "I already hurt." I shifted debris off her body and positioned my hands on her shattered limb. She watched me warily, claws trembling as she tried to move. "Don't move," I said firmly. "I need to straighten it on 3. 1, 2. I pulled before 3. Her scream tore through the silence, raw and animalistic. But before I could secure the splint I'd fashioned from broken metal, her hand shot out, grabbing the front of my shirt. "Don't let go," she gasped, her voice shaking. "Please don't let go." The words hit me harder than the explosion that had thrown me here. I froze, staring at her. Her claws clenched weakly in my shirt, smearing it with blue blood. There was no hatred in her eyes now, only fear. "Hey," I murmured, steadying my voice. "I'm not going anywhere. Hold on." I kept my hand on hers as I worked, binding the leg as gently as I could. Every time I moved, she whimpered, clinging tighter. "What's your name?" I asked, trying to keep her conscious. "Zara," she whispered. "Daughter of Kale." Kale. I'd heard that name before, one of the Drakari generals. I wondered if he was still alive. "I'm Rin," I said. "Not much of a fighter. I fix ships." Her eyes flickered with confusion, then softened. "Then why save me?" I hesitated. I didn't have an answer, not one that made sense in this war. "Because you asked me to." When I finished binding her leg, she was trembling from blood loss. I tore strips from my jacket to improvise a sling and carried her away from the wreckage. Every step was agony for her and for me. My back screamed, but I didn't stop. We found shelter in the ruins of a crash freighter. I laid her on a broken seat, still holding her hand. "You didn't let go," she murmured, almost surprised. "I told you I wouldn't." Something in her expression shifted then, the wary look of an enemy soldier melting into something almost vulnerable. Hours passed as I tended her wounds. I scavenged supplies from the wreckage, found clean water, and even managed to start a small fire. She watched me silently, golden eyes reflecting the flames. At one point, she spoke softly. "When I was little, my mother told me humans were monsters." "Funny," I said with a tired smile. "They told me the same thing about you." She laughed weakly, the first sound of warmth I'd heard all day. Night fell. Outside, distant booms echoed across the valley as the war raged on. But inside the wreckage, it felt almost quiet. I sat beside her, exhaustion pulling at my eyelids. She reached for my sleeve with trembling fingers. "Don't sleep," she whispered. "If I close my eyes, I might not wake up." "You'll wake up," I said firmly. "I won't let you go." For a long time, she stared at me, as if searching for any trace of a lie. Whatever she found must have satisfied her, because her breathing steadied. "Why do you care?" she asked finally. I didn't have a good answer. I thought about the people I'd lost, friends, family, innocence. I thought about the endless cycle of revenge between our species. "Because someone has to," I said at last. By dawn, her fever had broken. The bleeding stopped. She would live. When she woke, her first words were soft but steady. "You stayed." I said I would. I replied. Zara looked at me for a long moment. Then, slowly, she reached out her hand, not in desperation this time, but in gratitude. "Thank you, Rin," she whispered, "for not letting go." I took her hand, and for the first time since the war began, I felt something I thought I'd lost forever. Hope.